Good morning, I'm Karen Oliver with the Garden Club of South Carolina, and I'm here today to talk to you about dividing and repotting your overgrown philodendrons. We have this philodendron that has been living happily in our house for about the last 15 years. I've already divided it once and it has come back again. Sometimes it's kind of hard to decide how to handle a plant like this because it's very pretty. But when you think about repotting, you want to think about why you're repotting. You want to repot because maybe the roots are coming out the bottom of the pot. Maybe the plant is failing to thrive. And maybe, as in our case, the pot won't stand up by itself anymore because it has so many large branches coming off of it. For that reason, we're going to take some cuttings off of this plant. We're going to repot those and rework them. Before I started this project, I soak my cutting tools in alcohol. Sometimes I use a mild bleach solution. You want to make sure that you don't transfer bacterial or viral material from the garden or from one plant to another. So always clean your tools before you use them. Let me talk a little bit about the roots on this plant. They're very interesting. There are three kinds of roots that we deal with. We have the regular roots that grow in ground, in the dirt. Then you have adventitious roots and aerial roots, and these are actually kind of the same thing. Adventitious roots are roots that will come up out of the soil, the moist medium, to grab oxygen because maybe where they're growing is so wet that they can't get enough oxygen. And aerial roots serve the same purpose. A great example of this that you may be familiar with are the banyan trees that send up those great big roots. Also our cypress knobs that come up are examples of that, a way to grab oxygen. So what we have here is we have a plant that has really four plants. We have one emerging from the original base. You can tell where I cut that off a few years ago. We have a big plant here. We have a big one here, and we have a big one here. And we cannot get this pot to stand up right the way that it is. My husband has it strapped down with bungee cord, so we're gonna reduce it in size and make it more balanced. So the first thing I'm gonna do is find my roots. I think I'm gonna cut this one off first because it's right in my face. And as you can see, we have aerial roots right here. I want to sever this, I think, about right here. So hopefully I'll be able to do this, no problem. Then I'm going to pull this out without hopefully damaging my foliage too much. I am going to have to clip. Some of these aerial roots have connected themselves in the original pot, so I've got to get rid of that. Okay, now I'm going to set this down, and right now I'm just going to quickly scoot this back a little bit so I have a little bit more room to work. There. Now I'm going to sit down and take time to study this plant. As you can see, maybe scoot back a little bit more. Looking at this, we have a fairly healthy plant. We have some of these aerial roots that have dried up and browned, and they are of absolutely no good anymore. So we're gonna, some of them just pull off. I have a waste receptacle here to put in. And if they don't pull off easily, I'll snip them with my clean, sterilized tools. This one doesn't look so hot. I think I'm gonna take it off about right here. These aerial roots can actually be used when you do repot it. And plants always immediately look better when you start cleaning them up anyway, I tell you. Also, these little brown sheaths that the new leaves emerge from, I'm going to get rid of those. This plant's getting ready to go in the house for the winter, and this little dead foliage like that is a terrific place for bugs to hide out, scale and all kinds of nasty little insects we don't want coming into the house with us. So I have this plant now that's fairly cleaned up. Still got a little bit of stuff here to pull off. And I would like for the plant to grow like that. The plant may not realize that I want to be the boss, but I hope it will. We will develop new root structures off of this, which is going to be planted. So I think, okay, one little more thing there. I don't see any more seriously damaged foliage. I'm going to set this to the side right here. I'm going to get my pot. Now, when you're working with your pots, you always have to have a drainage hole. Now, I sterilized this pot before I brought it in from the garden, before I'm going to put this houseplant in there. I spritzed it down with an alcohol solution. I like to use coffee filters. Some people use paper towels to kind of slow down the exodus of the dirt from the drainage hole in the bottom. When you have a large pot, you don't necessarily want to have to fill the whole thing up with soil. This pot isn't too huge, I probably could. But just to demonstrate to you some things that I do when I want to have a space filler in the bottom of pots is I'll use old, smaller plastic pots and just throw them down there. And that helps elevate the base level of the soil that you're going to have. Next, I'll start filling in with soil. And then I'm just going to fill in, and I like to water my soil in. If my videographer will just hold a picture of the plant there for a minute, I'm going to go get a hose. I'll get that ready. I find that I have less sinking of the plant in the pot if I dampen the soil as it goes in, and I also have a more even moisture. You know, it can be kind of hard to thoroughly wet potting soil that is dry all the way down the bottom. So we're just going to continue doing this, and we're going to actually a little bit more in, and then we're going to dampen this soil. The plants are so much happier when they have nice damp accommodations to move into. If you stir it, you'll see how dry it does stay. Okay. Continuing to do this. This plant lives in our sunroom during the cold months. In the summertime, I find that most of our houseplants really enjoy a summer vacation out under the patio. That's a good chance for me to clean up any diseases. This plant tends to get scale. And so you can take care of that by swabbing it off with rubbing alcohol and a cotton ball, and that doesn't do any damage. It's not toxic, it's very environmentally friendly. And so keep on doing this. After your plants are successfully transplanted and moved to their location, you want to be sure that you have them in kind of a filtered sunlight situation. Protected. You don't want to put them in any direct sunlight or heat because the roots are going to be stressed, and this plant's going to be growing a whole lot of new roots. So we're going to do this, and you can see how much better this works to moisten this soil as you go in. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my plant, and I'm just going to put it. I want this. I want some of these aerial roots. Okay, see, I have this long aerial root. This can help me. I mean, it will develop root hairs and grow under there. So I'm going to put this in here. When I do it, I want to balance it so that the plant is attractive in the pot and will also stand upright. Sometimes this potting soil gets kind of hard when it's down in there. Keep on working on this. And kind of give it a little jiggle so that the roots and the stem are firmly ensconced in there and hold up. As far as your potting soil, I like to use a real high quality soil. I like the soil that has the moisture crystals in it and also a little bit of fertilizer. Some people don't like to use the moisture crystals, but with my watering habits, I find that I've reached a real happy understanding with that type of soil. So that's what I like to use. So I think you probably have about enough dirt. I'm going to get this level and firmed up in here. You want to really kind of press down firmly to make sure you have good soil to root contact. Get my water going a little bit better. And then the other thing that I do when I'm repotting anything is I mix up a root stimulator solution, it's a rooting hormone, and just give it a nice little drink. That helps get the roots off to a much healthier start. So I'll move this little guy. I'll keep him out here. Our weather's supposed to be good for the next few days, but he'll be moving into our sunroom for the winter. And I'll keep an eye on it and make sure the soil stays evenly moist and that I have good drainage at the bottom. And I hope this helps you deal with your monstrously overgrown philodendron. Thank you.